My name is John King. I'm excited to be a part of this conversation today with two phenomenal teachers, Michele Hand, who's a kindergarten and first grade teacher in Whitehouse, Texas, and Manuel Rustin, who is a high school history teacher in Pasadena, California. So I want to dive right into the conversation. We are really in this moment as a country grappling with multiple pandemics, COVID-19 and its impact on health, our economic crisis that we're experiencing as a country, and then this moment of national reckoning with issues of racial justice. And I'd love for each of you to talk about how your students are experiencing those multiple pandemics and what it's meant for your school community. So maybe we'll start with you, Michele.
Thank you. Well, I do teach kinder and first grade classrooms. So when we think about our kinder and first grade learners, we think a lot of language-rich environments. They are working on their social skills. They are talking and making friends. And so when they are at school, they're just fully immersed in words and language. And when we sent our students home for COVID, what happened was we replaced that language-rich environment with a screen. And we know that screens can inhibit oral language development. And so what we saw when they came back to our classroom was that there was quite a divide. There were children who had fallen backwards academically. They had really they came to us about a 6 months behind level. And then we saw some that really did really well over quarantine, and they were immersed in language rich environments at home and maybe had a little additional support. And so what we have found is that we would really truly love for these kids to be back in a language rich environment. It's so fun to see them come into our classrooms now with those smiles on their faces. We have very few discipline problems and a lot of happy kids, the ones that have returned on campus.
Great, thank you, Michele. Manuel, how about for you?
Yeah, so my students are high schoolers, and for a lot of them, the pandemic was especially hard because a lot of my students happen to also have jobs. A lot of them are earners. A lot of their parents are essential workers. So the pandemic hit them really hard in terms of trying to balance keeping the household in shape and order while also staying on top of their studies. And then the reckoning of racial justice. I mean, high school, thinking back to my high school years, that social element of it and being with my friends and really forging my identity was a really important part of it. And to not be able to be physically with their friends, with their teachers during this time as they process all that's going on in the nation is really challenging. And I asked my students recently about, what about social media? Because in my head, can't they just connect through social media and stay connected? And the response I got from my students was that they are sick of social media. Like they're really tired of that because it's just not a replacement for that in-person interaction. And a lot of them are really struggling with the dual pandemics and not really having a space with others to process together.
Maybe building on that point from Manuel, Michele, how did you think about supporting kids' sense of relationship with each other and with their teachers, particularly young kids, trying to do that through a screen?
That's challenging, especially with kinder and first grade students. So what we try to do is make as many connections as possible, connect with not just the students, but with parents to see what do these kids need? What can we give them? On the screen, we would try to do the same things we would do in person, a lot of extra conversation, a few extra Zoom calls, maybe reading a book with each other or them finding a book at home and reading it to me, trying to create or emulate some of the experiences that we have in a classroom that now we have to have through a screen.
And Manuel, for you, how did you keep your students positive? There's a lot to be sad, stressed, worried about. How did you not only keep them connected, but keep them hopeful?
Yeah, that's a great question. I know myself as a history teacher, I've really focused most on just building community as best as we can build it online, and really helping students be really in control of their own learning and serving more as a guide. So my curriculum has changed quite a bit during this time, of course, to be flexible, and we're 100% online distance learning. So the flexibility is really important, especially since a lot of my students work also, but also just trying to shape learning experiences and learning tasks that really help them tap into their own interests, and really show them that more than ever, their learning is within their own hands, and I can't be there over their shoulder in the classroom dictating their pace or dictating what they're doing. So really just trying to open it up and be more student-centered. That's always been important, but I think it's even more important now.
Yeah. As a former high school history teacher myself, it's really inspiring to hear both of you talk about your students. The love and care you have for them comes through very much. I'm curious, as we think about the digital divide and its impact, one of the frustrations for me in this moment has been seeing that even though we knew this fall was going to have many challenges and we'd still need to rely on the internet and devices, we still have kids all across the country who don't have reliable internet access, kids who are doing their work on their mom's cell phone because they don't have a device or don't have adequate devices in the household. How has the digital divide affected your students so far? And maybe we'll start this time with you, Manuel.
Sure. So, I mean, thankfully, my school district issued students laptops well before the pandemic even started. So we've been a one-to-one district for a while. However, the really big challenge is that internet connection. And a lot of my students live in multi-generational households. A lot of them have little siblings that are on their laptops doing their distance learning. And a lot of them have extended family who might be working from home. And it's just really difficult to have so many folks relying on the internet at the same time. So a lot of my students during my live instruction have, messaged me that they can't fully connect because their Wi-Fi is being spotty or down. So they're doing it from their phone, which of course eats up their data really quickly. So that has been a major challenge. So just getting devices in their hands, it has not been enough. And a lot of my students also happen to be in foster home placements or group home placements. We have several group homes in our area, and it's even more challenging there because you have so many students on internet that's just not that strong. So it's definitely been a challenge, and that just emphasizes the need to be flexible and extend grace to students as they do their best to try to deal with that challenge.
Yeah, thanks. Michele?
I echo what Manuel said, that we are not a one-to-one campus, but we did and were able to distribute devices to all of our students and hotspots. So having a device or a hotspot wasn't a problem, but the families with multiple children in the same household trying to connect at the same time did propose issues for our broadband connection. I know as an educator, when I was working from home, that I was able to purchase a stronger broadband connection, but I know that that's not the same for my students, that not everyone is able to purchase a stronger broadband connection. And what I think that did is created this divide even more, or pushed it and accelerated it even further, that those that were able to afford high quality broadband connection were able to continue and receive the instruction as it was intended, and those that weren't able to afford a stronger connection were unable to complete their assignments in the same way.
Mm. And this is a huge equity issue, I think, for the country, and really requires a federal response. I mean, we really need federal leadership on getting internet access, reliable internet access to every student and family. I'm curious in terms of the use of technology. I'm sure educators who are hearing this will be interested to know, if you could go back to the beginning of this time period and give yourself and colleagues a couple of pieces of advice around making virtual learning work and work well, what advice would you give them? Michele?
That's so interesting because I think that as educators, we really wanted for technology to grow with us, and then we were forced to use technology only. And what we found once we were immersed in this and screens all day long is that we were desperate for hands-on sorts of activities. And so what we did, we kept on catching ourselves thinking, how do we do this digitally? Oh, wait, we can just pull out a pen and a pad of paper, or we can pull out supplies that we have in our house. We wanted to really go back to the basics and not get bogged down in the technology. And although technology is so fun and it really can enhance what we're already doing, we were really rem- reminded that hands-on is so important, and we really craved it. And so you don't have to be 100% technology. You can really mix it with what you have already, the basic things. We tell kids all the time, we give them these crazy fun toys, and they really want to go back to the sticks and rocks. I found the same thing happened as an educator. We wanted to go back to pencils and paper because that's what we craved. We wanted hands-on, real-life sorts of work.
That makes a lot of sense. Is there one example of a particularly fun lesson where you had students get manipulatives or hands-on objects at home?
Yeah, so I did a science lesson for my first graders, and we were talking about properties of matter. And I could have just had them record themselves telling me what a certain property of matter was, or describe an object that they saw on the screen. But instead, we went on a scavenger hunt around our house. We tried to find the most fun objects we could find, and then they shared them. So it was kind of like a virtual show and tell, almost like, we talk about that social aspect. We got to see a little bit of what was in their house and learn at the same time.
That's awesome. Manuel, how about for you?
Yeah, I definitely would second that. And, from the high school perspective, the less is more is the axiom is very, very, very important to remember, because I think when the pandemic first started, we were, as teachers, very just rushed into this idea of, there's this tech tool, there's this website, there's this, there's that. And I gave students assignments that it was too many links, too many things to log in for, and it was just too much and too overwhelming. And simplifying that and getting down to the basics is really been helpful. And for my students as high schoolers, I've really doubled down on giving students a voice and choice to show me what they've learned, because not everybody is necessarily in a situation where a traditional argumentative essay is the best option right there for them. So what I found is, recent assignments in my government class, we were learning about social contract theory and Enlightenment philosophers and drawing connections between that and modern day protests. And I gave students the option of writing the traditional argumentative essay or filming themselves, kind of breaking down the links and the connections and what have you. And I got a range of responses. And I learned that students, when I free them up to lean in on their strengths and show me what they've learned, the performance was a lot higher than in the spring when I was still, giving them just one way to do it and trying to just recreate traditional school, but in a digital context. So just student voice and choice and really thinking that, less is more, and they don't need 20 tech tools. They need your grace, and they need focus on the most important core elements of your standards and what your curriculum is.
Well said. Well said. Let me turn to this national conversation we're having about race. And one of the things we think a lot about at the Education Trust is that students need a curriculum that provides windows and mirrors, right? Opportunities to see beyond themselves, but also opportunities to see themselves reflected in the authors they read, the texts that they study, the history that they learn. How have you thought about in your curriculum how you create those windows and mirrors? And how has this national conversation about race maybe influenced how you're thinking about that? You want to start, Michele?
So again, with kinder and first graders, a lot of our curriculum is around books and the pictures and the images that we see every day. And so our district has been intentional about choosing curriculum that mirrors diversity, that mirrors the ethnic makeup of our students. And beyond that, as a teacher who's worried about social, emotional, and this racial equity and equality, when I go out and I find an additional resource, I am particularly drawn toward and gravitate towards images with different types of students that match the types of students I see in my room. If I am pulling out a social emotional card that's asking a student, did you make a friend today? I want the images to match the types of friends that they might see on the playground. And so I'm just very conscious about the images that I put out there for my students. And I want it to be that it's not an issue, that they don't look at a book and say, wait a minute, this doesn't look like me. I really want them to see images around them that reflect them.
Thank you. Manuel, how about for you? How have you tried in your curriculum to address these issues of race and racial justice?
Sure. So it really hits close to home. We had a member of our own community who was shot and killed by police on video right as the school year was starting. So this was something that we couldn't just ignore as a school or as a community. So one thing that I've been trying to do is, regardless of what we're learning in history, I try to help students see the larger context and how it connects to today. So like the example I gave earlier about social contract theory, the Enlightenment thinkers, and modern day protests. And really, I'm trying to model for students how to have these difficult conversations, these courageous conversations, because I think for a lot of us teachers, it's scary stuff, because we know, tension is high and emotions run high, and things could go wrong when, you try to address these issues with the class and students start disagreeing or whatever. But it's more important than ever to model how to have these difficult conversations. And I would definitely love to see more support from districts and policymakers in helping teachers learn how to have these or how to model these difficult conversations with their students, because it's more important now than ever. If we don't address it with students, they're going to go off of what they see on social media or on TV, and a lot of that is just the violent conflicts that we just don't want to have our future be based on.
Well, that's very well said. Michele, I'm curious, with kindergartners and first graders, how much are they bringing to the classroom about these issues? How aware are they of the protests and some of the issues that are happening around us, around issues of racial justice?
It's interesting, living in this digital era. I think that if when we had the protests going on in our city, we were not in school. So a lot of times students at this age, they will come into the classroom with things that they have seen just recently. And it would have been interesting to be a teacher when the protests were happening in our community. We haven't had any recently. And so it's not something that they are bringing up. And I mean, they're very young, and I do think it's a conversation worth having. I agree with Manuel that some teacher training on how to discuss this with children, especially at any age, even kinder and first graders. How do you appropriately talk through these issues at all different age levels?
Yeah, that raises I think a really interesting question, especially for the Smithsonian community, because they do a lot of professional development. What experiences have you had either in your teacher preparation or in professional development experiences during your teaching career that have prepared you for grappling with these issues? And what are some things that you experience that you think are really good that more teachers should get to have? Manuel, you want to start?
Yeah, so to be honest, in terms of the professional development that's been, assigned to us, I haven't gotten a lot. So a lot of it for myself, I had to go out and learn on my own and tap into resources like the Abolitionist Teachers Network, tap into works like, Cultivating Genius by Goldie Muhammad, tap into tolerance.org and a lot of other folks out there who are doing good work and modeling for teachers how to have these conversations with students and how to help students explore these themes and these topics. So a lot of it has had to be independently on my own, which I think is unfortunate because teachers, we already are doing so much, and to rely on teachers to figure this stuff out on their own, it's not a feasible model, I don't think, for us to get anywhere. But yeah, that's sort of the situation that I've experienced for sure.
Mm-hmm. How about for you, Michele?
Well, I echo what Manuel said again, is that unfortunately we have had no professional development training on talking about these issues. It is something that we've had to do on our own. So for example, I will find an article and I have some administrators that uh, that are on board with discussing this issue. And so we will share and we will talk about these things on our own. How do we handle this? One of my administrators is a former counselor. And so we have these conversations just on the side. But as far as professional development, we haven't had any, unfortunately.
I mean, it's such a missed opportunity. I just feel like these issues should be central in teacher preparation as we prepare teachers for an ever more diverse student population, and they should be a part of ongoing professional development. So I'm sorry to hear that you didn't have the support, but I'm glad to hear that each of you has found ways personally to grow in these areas. I'm curious, in a sort of related area, one of our challenges as a country is a majority of our kids are kids of color, but only 18% of our teachers are teachers of color. Only 2% of our teachers are African-American men. And we're not moving very quickly to close those gaps. Be curious for each of you, as you think about your school community and your school district community, what do you see happening around trying to diversify teaching profession? Oh, go ahead, Michele.
So my administrator that when we are hiring, we specifically asked for teachers of color. And I am in Texas. We have a lot of Black and brown we hope to find we have a lot of Black and brown students. And so we hope to find teachers that mirror our students. And unfortunately, every time we ask, we get very few candidates. So I think that the first thing we need to do is, build up teacher preparation programs, encourage teachers of color to enter the education profession. There is an opportunity there for students to think, oh, like I would love to be a teacher, and to go and to find program. There are programs out there that I think give scholarships and support for those wanting to enter the profession. And now we just need to find those that want to enter them.
Absolutely. Manuel?
Yeah, it's very, very important issue, and a lot of it is thinking about the pipeline. I mean, our education system, it's no secret that Black and brown students have been heavily marginalized, and the outcomes for Black and brown students aren't near what the outcomes are for their peers. So, you think, well, why would a student who had a negative experience through school, why would they want to return to school as a teacher? So a lot of it is looking at it as a pipeline issue and trying to, of course, build a system where folks feel valued and feel humanized throughout their schooling experience, but also encourage folks early on and have, look at the junior colleges where a lot of Black and brown graduates go, and have supports to financial supports to help them go through all the hoops and barriers and overcome all the hurdles needed to become a teacher, from the certification tests to residency and all that. It would be great to see more support, more financial support for student teachers, for intern teachers, so that they could afford to be a student teacher, because a lot of folks have to make the choice. Like, I could enter this program and be a student teacher for a year, but I'm not getting paid for that. And I have bills to pay. I have student debt to clear. And those financial supports will go a long way to encouraging more folks to enter the profession for sure. And there's a lot of programs out there doing great work along those lines, Black Teacher Project and others, but we need more support to make it happen.
Yeah, I agree completely. I mean, this is another place where federal leadership would be very powerful. If we had a federal commitment to diversify the teaching profession, to increase the number of bilingual teachers, which is also a desperate need. But it's also a place where states could be leading. Many of the teacher preparation programs are public higher ed institutions that are part of the state government. The state could be doing a lot more to diversify the teaching profession. And school districts could be doing more with Grow Your Own programs. We could be getting high school students, mentoring younger kids so that they can get excited about teaching, paraprofessionals, and folks in sort of non-teaching roles
buildings
could be another potential pool that's often more diverse.
I totally agree. There is a teacher aid program here in Texas, but a lot of teachers don't know about it. Unfortunately, they allow full-time teacher aides in Texas classrooms. They give them tuition reimbursement, which is amazing. But more people need to know about these programs, and I think mentorship is key. Really sticking with those students that want to become teachers. Yes, for sure, they need to know about these opportunities so that they can both have a salary and be in school and be supported at the same time.
Yes, yes. And one thing I'd love to ask you both to talk about is teacher communities that you're a part of. And I mean, this is one of the ways we could retain more teachers of color, but teachers generally, keep folks in the profession. What are the teacher communities that you've been a part of that have been meaningful for you in your career? And, what advice would you give to young teachers about teacher communities they might be a part of? Manuel, you want to start?
Sure. So, we were just talking about teachers of color, and as a teacher of color, I can tell you it's been really isolating work in some of the sites that I've worked at. So I've had to go online to find my community, and there's a lot of great groups online that have offered me space and offered me supports. Educolor is one that I could think of just off the top of my head, founded by Jose Vilson, who's a math educator in New York City, and Liberate and Chill is another one. There's these various communities online where teachers can get together and really process the challenge of being an educator during this time and really be pointing in the right direction. And through those communities, I've been pointed to the work of so many brilliant educators out there that's been really, really, really helpful. So for me, it's been virtual and online. And, when I think to my own school site, the staff at my school site is great, but it's always a challenge to have time to really connect on a deep level with other teachers, because we're always so busy, because there's, we have so little prep time to really take care of all the responsibilities that we have to take care of. So definitely a challenge.
John?
I also say what Manuel says. There are two ways that I found teacher community. One is through our own building and, really building relationships with the teachers around you, those teachers that are on your team. It really is those teams of teachers that can close those inequality gaps when you work together to really support students. So starting in the school, but then also I work with an organization called Teach Plus, which has been a fantastic resource for talking about teacher diversity and closing achievement gaps, and how do classroom teachers lend their voice to policymakers? How can we be the change? How can we lend a voice to our co-teachers and our students? So I do think that that's something that teachers have to seek out, outside of the walls of their school. But there are some fantastic groups out there to be a part of, and I'm proud to be a part of Teach Plus and the work that they're doing.
Fantastic. As a Teach Plus board member, I especially appreciate your saying that. That's fantastic. And I've followed Jose Vilson for a long time and appreciate the communities that he's helped to build. So thanks for shouting him out, Manuel. Yeah. Let me turn to another topic. One of the challenges, I think, in many schools historically has been not all kids get access to the full range of opportunities. And in some schools, there's such heavy emphasis on English and math that kids aren't getting much science and social studies. Other schools, limited resources mean they're not able to provide robust arts opportunities. In other cases, some schools have 20 AP classes and other schools have none. Talk about what you've seen over your careers in terms of kids' access to a well-rounded education and what you'd like to see for your students in terms of a well-rounded education. Manuel, you want to start?
Sure. So I'm very fortunate to work at a school that has been able to find creative ways to fund a really well-rounded education. So we have 3 career-themed academies in California. The California Partnership Academy model provides some funding for career technical education. So we have a Arts Academy, Arts and Media Academy, which I happen to teach within, Engineering Academy, a Business Academy, and we're also an early college magnet school. So we're able to get a magnet grant to have dual enrollment classes. So we have a partnership with our local community college, Pasadena City College. They leased out one of the buildings on our campus, and we have dual enrollment classes right off the bat for our students. Our students are something around 90% low SES and predominantly students of color, and to have free college classes right on our campus has gone a long way to help them graduate with some college credits already under their belt. And the combination of all these grants has allowed us to build a TV studio and a really great engineering lab and all kinds of great stuff. I'm really worried what the future holds across the system, though, given the fact that we are in the middle of this pandemic. I personally am worried that the learning loss that's happening, or I call it the so-called learning loss, because I know a lot of students are learning a lot at home with their relatives and with their families. But I feel like that's going to be weaponized over the next couple of years to create pathways towards having even more emphasis on English and math and even less emphasis on the arts, similar to what I saw when I first entered the profession in the 2000s. So I really, really hope schools don't sacrifice some of their electives and their art programs in the name of catching kids up in math and English because of the time spent away from the school building during this pandemic. That's just my perspective of it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think it's a real challenge that folks assume that we can get better reading outcomes with less science and social studies, when in fact it turns out that if we want better reading outcomes, kids actually need more science and social studies, more opportunities to build knowledge and vocabulary and so forth. Michele, how about for you?
So what I hear Manuel saying is that a lot of his fantastic programs are through grant money, which I find the same thing is happening at our school. We do have a music program, but we do not have an art program. And so our teachers take that responsibility on through the use of their funds and through grant money. We have had grants for, tower gardens and all sorts of wonderful opportunities for students to learn the arts, but it does require teachers going out and finding grant money to support those extra activities, the arts. And so that makes me sad as far as coming back to school and learning reading and math. What I see happening is that the arts, if we're talking about social, emotional, academic development, we know that we have to support our learners socially and emotionally, and the arts are a great way to do that. If we emphasize reading and math too much, then we'll see their anxiety rise, and I don't think that will improve their test scores or their achievement. We really need to have a balanced education, particularly going forward as these students come back with learning gaps. And we will spend not just a few weeks, but I think we'll be spending years trying to fill these gaps that will exist when they return from this COVID break that we have. And I think we really need to balance that with the arts so that we see reduced anxiety and, in the end, higher performance.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I mean, I hope we see some federal leadership around resources for school districts to protect the kinds of well-rounded education programs you're describing, but also resources to create opportunities for more enrichment after school, in the summer. That I think will help us to make up for some of what kids have missed, but also just give them a richer educational experience. Want to make sure we talk a little bit about the role of philanthropy. And Michele, well, both of you highlighted this challenge that sometimes a grant makes something more fragile and there's not enough public commitment to the public investment that's needed. But talk about, from your perspective, what do you see as the potential role for philanthropy in this moment? Um, Both in addressing the consequences of COVID, but also addressing systemic racism and its impact on our society. Go ahead, Michele.
That's a big question. Those were a lot of questions tucked in nicely to that one thing. So I think first I would think particularly about how philanthropy has impacted our students. One thing that we've had taken away from us, and I think a lot of teachers would say is something that they lack, is time. And so what our grants have given us, maybe through hiring a few extra teachers, additional teacher support, has given us the time to really spend with students that need that extra time and support. And I think that our students will need a lot of extra time and support. And so, for all of the reasons that you mentioned, the racial injustice, the lack of arts, I think philanthropy can play a large part in investing in time through maybe teacher hours, investing in programs. And, I think our go-to has been to invest in technology. And I think we're all finding that, okay, although we need broadband, for free, equal education, I think that philanthropy can go a different direction and maybe give us the time we need with our students. So it could go a long way, I think.
Thanks. Manuel?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with all that, and it certainly can go a long way. And just again, speaking about my own school site, it's gone a long way towards getting us to where we are today. But of course, the danger always is as the money comes in through this grant or through that foundation, then either the school district itself or levels above the school district start to rely on that money and therefore not. So like, as a teacher, a lot of times when we need supplies, it's coming out of our career technical partnership grants. But that, where do we get supplies for before that grant came around? So it becomes something that just supplants the support that we should be getting from the state or from the federal government. So, when I think about my own school site, we've had a number of different grants, and each grant has impacted our teaching in one way or another. But some of the constant ongoing challenges that we have are above and beyond just the technical aspect of supplies or curriculum, but it's, the supports for students. We have almost 1,000 students on our campus and only 2 full-time counselors, and we don't have enough therapists at all. We don't, on our campus, we happen to have a nonprofit that offers some therapy services, but we need a lot more of that. And we have a lot of group homes in our area, and I've been at the school for 12 years, and I only know of one meeting that we were able to arrange where we actually sat down with members of each group home to kind of get on the same page about how to strategically support students who are in foster placement. So when I think about the role that philanthropy can play, I just really, really think that we need to consider how can we ensure that these resources aren't just being used to supplant what the district or the state was already supposed to do? How can we make sure these resources maybe cover some of the things that sort of blend across stakeholders? So something like more counselors, social workers, therapists, liaisons between schools and community stakeholders to support students in ways that I, as a classroom teacher, can't. I love definitely all the support, all the grants, all the opportunities to pay for a projector for my class or pay for books for my students, for sure. But it's a lot of other stuff that could go a really long way to supporting students that seems to continue to fall through the cracks. So, that's sort of how I view it.
I really appreciate that. I hope that some folks in philanthropy will think about the opportunity to invest in advocacy, because at the end of the day, the public sector has tremendous resources, and philanthropy can't make up on its own for the public sector not fulfilling its responsibilities. I think about the fact that we have 1.7 million kids who go to a school where there's a law enforcement officer and no school counselor. Right? That's not a philanthropy problem. We need advocacy to say every kid should be able to have access to a school counselor, and that is a public responsibility that should be shared by the whole society. We only have a little bit of time left. I want to get to a couple more things. I'd love for each of you to reflect a little bit on self-care. In the midst of these multiple pandemics, all the needs that your students are bringing, how have you made sure to take care of you during this period?
Yeah, the same. Sure. The same flexibility and grace that I'm extending to my students, I constantly remind myself to extend that to myself as well, because I've been teaching for 17 years, but I've never been trained in how to teach in this distance learning pandemic style. So this is first year teaching all over again in a way, and just reminding myself to not get down on myself, based on student engagement or based on, how much work I'm receiving for students, and just remember that as challenged as they are to try to learn a whole new way of doing school, that extends to me as well. So being patient with myself, being patient with my students, really focusing and honing in on joy and creating joyous moments each class period. Like in my head, I'm always thinking like, where's the joy in this particular lesson or this particular exchange with students? Because I want them to feel good about being in my class and being connected to school despite the circumstances. So for me, that self-care comes from just like realizing that nobody has all the answers. We're all doing our best. I'm doing my best, and together we'll get through this sooner or later. But the day's going to come where it's like, okay, this is behind us, and we did our best, and our kids are still here, and we're going to move on into a brighter future.
Absolutely. Michele?
The same things that I encourage my students to do during this time, art therapy, spending some time at home in art therapy, going home, sleeping well, making sleep a priority, making eating well a priority, trying to get out and exercise, all of the things that I encourage my students to do, I'm trying to encourage myself to do. And I think we all need grace. We all know that this is not normal. I want to encourage my students every day to find the good in each day, to keep a good attitude about what is happening. And so I try to do the same thing for myself. And, it's not perfect, but we keep telling ourselves we're all in this together, which I think has been very helpful, with our colleagues and with our students. We're all in this together. We're all in the same boat. We understand each other, be empathetic, understanding, flexible, and come each day ready to learn and ready to face a new day.
Fantastic. We just have 2 minutes left. So with that time, could you each take a minute and tell me either about a teacher who made a huge difference in your life or a colleague who inspires you?
Miss Miller. We all have that teacher we can shout their name.
Yeah, tell us.
Right? In third grade, I had Miss Miller, and she really took me on. I wasn't a teacher's kid. She just saw that I was struggling, and so she would pull me aside after school. I mean, she wasn't easy on me, but she incentivized growth. Gave me extra stickers for things, and she just took me on. She chose me. It felt like she understood me, and I feel like I try to remind myself every year that I want to be Mrs. Miller. Like, find those students and make them feel like I chose them, that, I am in an intervention capacity. I pull small groups, and so a lot of times these students feel like they have to come to me, but I want them to feel like I chose them. I want them to be there.
Fantastic. Thank you, Manuel.
Awesome. When I was in 10th grade, I was failing my English class, had nothing to do with the work. It was just, I was just not tuned in. And my 9th grade English teacher, Mr. Murray, Craig Murray, pulled me aside and asked me what was going on. He's a fellow UCLA Bruin. He knew I wanted to go to UCLA, and, I didn't give him the answer. I didn't give him any answer. It was all just personal stuff, but I never forgot the fact that he wasn't my teacher anymore. He was my 9th grade teacher, not my 10th grade teacher, but he pulled me aside and checked in with me. And that meant the world, and that let me know that, I'm not alone at this, and people are rooting for me. So definitely Mr. Murray.
Awesome. Thank you for a great conversation.
Thank you.